Okay, let's do some questions. My 10
The 10
questions here.
questions. Yeah, I'm
This is
ready. I'm
always
ready
fun.
for the 10 questions.
Okay, so again, arm up your back. If you have to absolutely pick one, what is your favorite Tom Petty album?
I think it's the first one.
Okay.
I think it's the first one because I do like how much it feels a little defining. I mean, I like it for the like sort of fake reasons or like non-musical reasons. Like I
Okay.
like the cover and how much the logo is there. I do love the Tom Petty Heartbreakers logo with the heart and the
Yeah.
flying V guitar. Um, I like that logo, and I feel like the first record and the leather jacket. The first record to me, there's still a little bit like the vulnerabilities there, but he's also trying to be tough, and the expression on his face on the cover, he's like a little bit at war with the vulnerability as
Yeah.
vulnerable as he is. And I like that tension, and I like that it ends with American Girl. I think
Yeah.
that
Track
closing
10.
with that
Yeah.
is like that's like an album statement. The fact that it ends there and that the whole album is sort of like a trip to get there, and then when you
Right.
get there and then there's no more information after that, I think that's a cool move. So I for the sake of having an answer, I'm going to say the first album.
Awesome, man. I think you are I think maybe one of the persons picked the first album, but it's not common. So,
Wow. Okay.
okay, number two, Mud Crutch or the Traveling Wilburys.
I'm picking Mudcrutch,
Okay.
but it's um but this is really kind of just because I feel like the Wilburys lose it. I think,
Okay.
and the reason I
How
think
do you mean?
like I feel like the Traveling Wilburys, there's so much talent in that band
Right.
that it's like,
It's like stacking the deck almost, right? It's
yeah, I
just
just
cheating.
feel like it's like I think they're fine, but there's
Okay.
so much talent in that band that they're supposed to be better than fine. And so I
Okay.
feel like it's like if you played basketball with Michael Jordan and he won, but you did not get shut out, that's the same as you winning.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like you should not be able to score any points against Michael
Oh man.
Jordan. So if he
Okay.
beats you with like 20-2, you won because it should be 20-0 because it's Michael
Right.
Jordan, right? So you put all those guys in one
Oh man.
band. I just feel like it's supposed to be better than
Okay.
Handle with Care. Like I'm not hating on it. I'm just saying like Handle with Care, I don't think is better than Roy Orbison's best song or the Beatles' best song or Tom Petty's best song. Like,
Of course not. Yeah.
I don't think it's better than any of that. So I feel like Mudcrutch wins just in the way that you win against Michael Jordan if you can get one basket,
I got you.
And then also there's a Mudcrutch lyric where he says, I'm a loser at the top of my game, right? Isn't
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
line in Scare Easy, Don't
Yeah.
Scare Easy, I think. And I feel
Scary.
like
Yeah.
that's it's weird that it's in a Mudcrutch song because to me that's like the essence of Tom Petty. I'm a loser
Yeah.
at the top of my game. So the fact that I feel like that is, to me at least, the most Tom Petty lyric ever. The fact that it's in a Mudcrutch song, and the other thing, I go Mudcrutch.
Yeah. Well, and just again, I've talked about this with lots of people. What a move to reform Mudcrutch, where not only does he not have to do that financially, actually probably it's financially a bad investment because now he's not going out and touring as the Heartbreakers, but to do that for the pure love of performing with people he grew up with friends, and just to do something different and challenge himself. There's not. I don't know if I can think of another artist who would have done something like that or who has done that at the Petty level.
Yeah, I
Super cool.
agree. Although I feel like the Heartbreakers and Tom Petty without the Heartbreakers and Mudcrutch are not wildly different.
No, 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 of course not.
And like Mike Campbell's always there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like it's cool that he reformed it for sure. But I don't know, man. I feel like if you just told me like it was just Tom Petty the whole time, you know what I mean? Like
Oh, really?
that's what I feel like it was just Tom Petty the whole time, kind of.
Okay. Yeah, I think there's always, to my ear, it's always just there's that little bit more country in Mudcrutch. It's just got that little bit more,
That's true.
sort of country grease to it, or
That's
whatever it is
true.
that Tom Ledden brings in and whatnot. But
That
okay,
I
so
agree. I agree.
if you could join the Heartbreakers on stage for one song, what would it be, and what would you play / sing? And I'm
So
gonna put a caveat on this. I'm gonna say you can't pick "Listen to Her Heart."
Listen to Her Heart. Yeah,
Yeah.
I figured that was. I figured that would be an annoying answer. I mean, if it's not tacky for me to say that I would sing, then I would sing, and I would sing "Don't Do Me Like That."
Oh, nice.
That's the other song that I just feel like I can do. I can't do it as well as Tom Petty can do it, but I can sing "Don't Do Me Like That." Like if that's my karaoke go to when I'm with other people.
Sweet.
If I go to karaoke and I sing "Don't Do Me Like That," people think like, yeah, that guy should be singing that song. You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
He picked the right song for his voice. So that's my answer.
Great staccato delivery on that too. Hey, the way he punches the syllables out on that song again, so different to us. It's so cool.
Yeah, and then I was talking with a friend of mine. I said, "A woman up is prime." It's just like
it's fast. It's really rapid fire. You know, it's super cool.
And you better watch your step. It's just like
when again he's got that weird thing where I talk about this lots on the podcast as I go through each song. It's the way he bends vowels. Like it again, like you said, singing a song, you can sing the notes, but to get that phrasing and intonation that he puts into every single syllable, that's trickier. So as you say, you shouldn't try and do that. You should try and sing it yourself because you're only hard into nothing if you try to sing it like Petty. So
exactly.
Okay, question 4. Who would be your dream opening act at a Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers concert?
I would like to see Angel Olsen open for Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. She's doing well, so I don't even know if she needs to. Like I'm not sure what her numbers are. It's maybe now. I'm not trying to say like she is not a headliner. I'm not trying to diss Angel Olsen and say she's not a headliner, but I do feel like I would just like seeing a bill that has Angel Olsen and then Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. I feel like she is in touch with a very similar, it's like kind of country, but it's not stuck in country.
Right.
And emotionally, I feel like she's in touch with a sort of feminine version of that kind of like unself-pitying misery. I just feel like she's painting with some of her versions of some of the same colors.
Okay, I am not aware of her.
You should look up if you like Tom Petty, look up the song "High Five" by Angel Olsen. You're gonna be like, oh yeah, this is a no-brainer.
I'm gonna write that down. This is the other good thing about talking to musos is I get hipped onto all sorts of different artists, right, when I'm talking to them. So
yeah,
Angel Olsen, okay, cool. Well, I mean, yeah, you don't have to pick, it doesn't have to be someone who you don't think should be an opener. Because when I did this, I just did the questions myself for my 100th episode with my friend. Cool. And I just totally hacked this. I went with Jackson Browne, Billy Idol, and Foo Fighters. Those were my three. So I was doing a festival approach. And I had the Heartbreakers come on for one song with each band. So I was like, cool. I'm totally invested in this. Yeah. Who's your favorite band member, if you have one, other than Tom?
It's the keyboardist, Benmont Tench. That's right. Yeah. That's right. And I'll tell you why. Because I mean, one, I know Mike Campbell is good, but I just feel like I'm assuming everyone says Mike Campbell, right? I just feel like I want there to be a not Mike Campbell answer for this question. So the reason I'm giving it to Benmont Tench is because I do admire the way he was able to use synthesizers without having it be corny on "You Got Lucky." Yeah. I think that song does not sound dated. I think the synthesizers are moody and cool. They don't sound cheesy. And I think it's very hard for a 70s band, especially a 70s band that was still basically sounds like a live band. Like the Heartbreakers were never very produced. Yeah. Right? It was like, the synthesizer stuff on Southern Accents is like the most produced they ever got. And then Full Moon Fever is produced in a sort of Jeff Lynne way. That got kind of producery, but up to "You Got Lucky," they were still very much like the record is just going to sound like the band playing their set. Yeah. And for many 70s bands to then go from playing like the keyboard instruments of the 70s to the synthesizers of the 80s, you really had to be sharp to not get sucked into like trendy, corny bullshit that would sound dated very quickly. And I think he avoided that. That song does not sound trendy or dated to me now. And I think that's a rare accomplishment for guys his exact age at that exact moment in pop music history. So I give it to him for that specific reason.
This is the thing we always talk about with the Queen fandom is when they got into the mid 80s, they got all the synth sounds completely wrong and they sound horrible and dated and they're just, in a lot of cases really, really bad. And I agree. I think that, You Got Lucky, it does have that sort of timeless appeal because and again, it's all about tone. And I've watched a lot of your YouTube channels talking about guitar tone and
Yeah,
pedal
yeah,
tone. And
yeah.
it
Thanks,
is
man.
important. Getting the right thing is important for the song, but it's got to fit the song. You can't
Yeah.
you can't shoot on him, which is what happened on Southern Accents, where it's like, well, let's just, Dave Stewart's here. Let's just,
Yeah.
man, it just doesn't fit with the Heartbreakers at all.
Yeah, I feel like it sounds too much like a Dave Stewart and
Yes.
not,
Yeah.
but
Which
I like Dave Stewart. I like
I
Dave
love.
Stewart. And
Hey, the
he's,
Eurythmics, one of the best bands, one of the best pop bands of all time.
yeah, and he's produced other people, and I think
Yeah.
it works a little bit better. But yeah, anyway.
Okay, so if you could go to see any Tom Petty concert from history, actually, I didn't ask you, did you ever see him live?
I never did know.
No, I didn't either, which is again
Yeah,
another knife in the heart. But
I
so, if
know.
any concert from
I'm
history,
hungry.
which one would you go to if you had the
So
time machine? And
I don't know if what the specific concert would be, but my favorite
okay,
live footage of him is the stuff on YouTube of when he did the Old Grey Whistle test,
okay,
which was like 1978, and I think they were touring on You're Gonna Get It.
yeah,
And that version of the band, or like how he was dressed, where he was wearing dress clothes and he had the
right,
sunglasses and the flying V and he was wearing shoes and he was like super skinny and shaved. He
yeah,
was sort of like doing this kind of clean cut. He was like something about the dress clothes and the clean cut and the sunglasses. It was like almost like Miami Vice fashion or something. But it's like cooler than that. It's
yeah,
like not annoying and like macho asshole version of that.
yeah,
There's something about that I like, and the band was sharp, and like that set they did on Old Grey Whistle Test. I know that doesn't count as a concert, but like the band in that shape, in that moment, which I guess was like 1978. That's
yeah.
when I would most want to see them.
Well, I think, of course, I think it is it's a performance. It's a live performance, so there doesn't have to be 20,000 people there for it to be a
Okay,
concert, right? I
cool.
don't think,
All right,
right?
great.
Because my answer was the whiskey, which would have been, I don't know, what's that, 400, 500? You
Right,
can
right,
pack into
right.
that place,
Sure,
so absolutely.
sure.
Okay, question 7. Walls Circus or Walls number 3, which is your favorite version?
I go Wall Circus,
Okay,
because at the end, like the outro of that song, after he stops singing, they get into some weird shit at the
yeah,
end of that song. There's some like cyber shit happening a little bit. It's like it's not really cyber, but they like start to approach that kind of weird world.
yeah,
And so for that reason, I prefer Circus. I think the tempo on the other version is better. I wish the Circus version was done at the tempo of the other
just that little
version.
bit. Yeah,
And the other version does, I'd like the harmonica solo. It's like trashy. It's recorded in this like really trashy, distorted way. And when that came out, I was like, oh, that's cool.
yeah,
But overall, I like the Circus version more just because on the outro, you start to hear these like weird, they like start to do things they haven't ever done yet. Or maybe you're just hearing it for the first time because there's no vocal. And I like
yeah.
those little like last minute surprises.
Well, again, it's sonically really quite different. The Heartbreakers had a habit of doing that too, where they would just really surprise you. Like You're
Yeah.
Gonna Get It, we already talked about, didn't sound like anything else they'd ever done. And they
Yeah.
did that a lot during their careers where it's like, oh, all right, that's different, that's new. So, which
Yeah.
is a good thing, I think. So,
For
so if you
sure.
could pick, well, as someone who has covered Tom Petty, if you could pick any artist to cover any Tom Petty song, which artist and which song?
Um, I would pick Saint Vincent
Ooh.
to do You Got Lucky.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
I mean I like her. I've heard her cover other songs. I trust her to do a cover that is takes a lot of liberties, but then you hear them and you're like, yeah, I'm glad she took those liberties. So I trust her to do that. And I feel like You Got Lucky. I would like to see. It's just synthesizery enough that I feel like she could go crazy with that if she
Yeah.
wants to. And then but also the lyrically and the vocally and the sort of emotional persona of it, I'd like to hear her kind of like, I don't know what she would do, but I feel like it would be cool. Maybe she would make it a little bit more of a sneer. I can sort of imagine her doing that.
Yeah.
Or maybe she would make it way more depressed and like suicidal. I don't know, but
Yeah.
I'm picking her to cover that song because I don't know exactly what she would do with it, but I am imagining different things she could do, and they all sound cool.
But if she tweeted that she was covering that and it was going to be on the next album, straight away you'd be like, oh, that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I would pre-order. I would
Yeah.
pre-order in that scenario.
Well, I think it fits her attitude too, because that song is, it's written from that perspective of this asshole. You got lucky when I found you. It's like,
Yeah.
go fuck yourself. You know what I mean? So I think
Yeah,
she's
right,
got the
right,
right
right,
amount
right.
of attitude to, to deal with that. So,
Yeah, she covered, I don't know if you heard this, but when Metallica did this like big anniversary vision of the Black Album, they had 1 million people cover all these different Black Album songs.
okay.
And she covered Sad But True, and I think it's the coolest thing ever.
I will definitely check that out.
To anyone who's listening right now, I highly, highly recommend St. Vincent's cover of Sad But True. Regardless of what you think about Metallica and the Black Album, regardless of what you think about St. Vincent, that's one of my favorite covers of all time.
Cool. And yeah, one that you wouldn't necessarily, it doesn't seem like it
Right.
dovetails particularly well, right? So
Right.
cool. Okay, so again, question 9 is the worst question that I wrote out of the 10 by far. What song do you most frequently recommend to people who don't know Tom's music? Now, this is assuming that there's anyone in your orbit who doesn't listen to Tom Petty,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I
First
don't know
off,
who
so.
that will be. I mean, I'm tempted to say American Girl because I feel like that might be the most like stunning. Like that's the song I am the most stunned by. But sometimes people aren't in the mood for that, and so it can backfire. So I'm tempted to try to think of something that's a little bit more like in and out, sort of like quick and dirty, and just sort of like little and short and like expertly crafted. So and he's got a bunch of those too. So I don't know, maybe like Live Like a Refugee or I Need to Know, or like one of those songs where it's just sort of like it's hard to find fault with it. Like I understand why I Need to Know might not be your favorite song, but I just feel like even if you don't like it, how would you improve it? You just sort of you can't really improve it. It's just it is what it is, and it sort of works on its own terms. And it's like kind of hard to imagine an edit that would make I Need to Know better than it already.
But it's so lean. It's so lean. There's absolutely zero fat on that song at all, right? Like it's exactly what it needs to be.
I mean, it's like not my favorite Tom Petty song, but I do feel like if I have to play for someone who's like critical or is like ready to find fault, I feel like that one you sort of be like, well, if you could produce it, how would you make that song better then? And I feel like you'd be hard pressed to make that song better. So maybe that's an answer.
Yeah. We talk about sort of American Girl too, and I'd also lump Listen to Her Heart into this. Tom Petty always had, or frequently had, an amazing way of writing just an unbelievably good opening line.
Oh, yes.
She was an American girl raised on promises, or, so you think you're going to take her away with your money and your cocaine. Come on, man. That's a phenomenal line.
Also, I love the whole first verses of Free Fallin'. I love.
Yeah.
Where he's like, she's a good girl, crazy about Elvis. She's a good girl, loves her mama. And she goes through all that, loves horses. And then I'm a bad boy because I don't even miss her. I'm a bad boy for breaking her heart. That's like the best first verse journey anyone's ever done. I really love that. So it's the first line, but then it's the first line all the way to the last line of the first verse. It's just so expert.
It's that framing, right? So it's setting the whole thing up. It's like Rebels, that honey, don't walk out, I'm too drunk to follow. That's the whole story right there. Even if you didn't have any other lyrics, that would tell you everything you need to know about this guy, about this character. So good.
Right.
All right. So your last question in the quick fire round. Describe Tom Petty in 3 words.
Oh yeah. Okay. I prepared this one. Verge of tears.
Perfect. We talked about this a lot, so that's
I've already sort of talked about why, but to me that's like the whole thing. He's the verge of tears guy. He's not crying. He's not crying. He's on the verge of crying.
Yeah. But I suppose the one time where he did really let that out was Echo. So the whole of Echo is him crying, right? That's where he's just, I'm not bottling this up anymore. I just need to get all this out and then I can move on past it. And
True.